After the longest bye week in the history of bye weeks, Ohio State is 1 day closer to getting back on the football field. We can finally put that Oregon game to bed, and the Buckeyes can get back in the horseshoe. We're just in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for now. That's Tim May, the 41-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom. Buttoned up media session with the Buckeyes here, Ryan Day and the captains. I think it was probably good for the captains to face the media, talk to us, and answer some questions about how they feel moving forward after the Oregon loss. First time talking to players not named Will Howard since that loss. So, Andy, we'll get this out of the way real quick. Lathan Ransom, day to day, didn't sound like something that Ryan Day wanted to be saying. Said that they would evaluate him tomorrow, which would be Thursday. If you're watching this on Thursday, that would be today. I don't know if we'll see him against Nebraska, but the name that keeps coming up when we talk about this and when you bring up Lathan Ransom is Lorenzo Styles Jr. I don't know if that means he's going to play in a starting role or if he's just going to play, but it seems like he's pushing for a role along with Jalen McLean and Malik Hartford in the secondary.
Lathan Ransom, battle-tested guy, right? Has the broken leg at the end of the 2021 season, the Rose Bowl. On special teams, he has a broken thumb the next season in 2022. One of them he does, he breaks a thumb, blocks a punt. The next season he has the Lis Frank tear in his left foot. He's came back every single time stronger. So you hope that this is nothing serious. It sounds day to day, which is what Ryan Day said. So again, more encouraging in that realm of the scope of longevity of where he's at for the rest of the season. But then also, yeah, where do you go next? That's what you're kind of asking, Spencer. And Lorenzo Styles Jr. is an option at that nickel cornerback position because they see it as a 3-safety system still, even though that those guys really are corners, Jordan Hancock and Lorenzo Styles Jr. But of course, you do have still the options at safety as well with Malik Hartford and Jalen McLean.
Yeah.
They feel more of like the prototypical pick there. And so I don't know where they'll go in which direction, but certainly it's an interesting question because if you look at the defensive snaps for this roster this year, 1 and 2 is Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom. They played a lot of football, over 300 defensive snaps for those two guys. So we've not seen a lot of those backup safeties this year. Malik Hartford has started 2 games in his career that both came last year, replacing Josh Proctor at that free safety position. But we've only seen a little bit of Jalen McLean this year, more so on special teams. So you can go in 3 different directions there, in my opinion. I'm not sure who it will be.
Yeah, that is if Lathan doesn't play, and this would be a perfect time to sit him. It's not a knock on Nebraska, but if he needs to sit out, you'll let him sit out. I think that's their thinking right now. He was in a boot last week. He's out of the boot right now, so that's encouraging in terms of Lathan Ransom. But I don't know why they would. I don't necessarily think, I'm stammering because I don't think they necessarily think they have to like shift things around when in fact you've got guys who've been practicing at safety all year, and maybe this is their shot. Just like you talked about Malik Hartford last year. He spit the bit the first time, second time he played pretty well. And he's there now. Jalen McLean, we were talking about him all through. He was your, I forgot, award winner, but during the preseason camp, he was getting some
spring
kudos.
ball more, but yeah.
More spring ball, yeah. But the bottom line is, I think that's the way they would go there. But, anytime you could put, because of last year what happened with Lathan with that foot, anytime you can put more time between possibly a tweak and him playing again, the better off you are. So that's the way I look at it. I think they'll play one of the backup safeties is what I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting.
If that happens.
It's interesting because they can go a lot of different directions at safety, but they can also go a lot of different directions along this defense. You're starting to get the sense that things will look differently. Things you were saying that Cody Simon talked about. I was over there writing about Lathan, talking about how they've been a little, I think the word was stagnant on defense. At times. Now they're looking at different ways that they can get different safeties involved. I just wonder if this defense is going to look different. I know a lot of people have had their reservations about actually believing what Ryan Day's been saying because he said that things need to change in the past. But it does feel like there's been a little bit of a shift here, and there actually will be some change coming to this defense. I don't know if that's the sense you got. I'll go to Andy first. Hold on, Tim. But if that's the sense you got, Andy, from the players.
Yeah, you never really know because, again, Cody Simon is Jim Knowles' guy. And he said, ultimately, he's okay with the game that Jim Knowles called. He thinks they need to execute better. They need to play faster, and sometimes they just kind of got their cleats stuck a little bit in the turf and weren't playing as fast and executing the way they should have been. So I don't know how much it's going to look different. I'm sure that the thing that needs to change is the output. They need to have more sacks. They need to have more tackles for loss. They need to be in the backfield more. they need to do that. That is, in my mind, the change. Schematically, I don't know how much looks different. Like, I don't know how much you just tear up and say, hey, we're starting anew mid-season. But I do know that, whether you're coaching it in certain ways to get your guys in certain positions, I think there's smaller tweaks that you can make to get you the output, because they are getting pressure. They're just not finishing. So they're not like totally off the mark. I think they just need to make smaller changes than the wholesale changes.
Yeah, that doesn't count as an interruption. I just threw one word out there.
No, you're good.
Right?
You're good.
I don't want to be scolded by whoever those guys are. Actually, I don't really. If you know, I don't care. People who know me best. Bottom line is, Ryan Day. Remember, I asked him on Tuesday when you talk to like the defense, and when you met with the defensive coaches and maybe even Jim Knowles, was it more of a mandate? This is what I want to see changed, or was it a conversation? And he said basically it was both, a little bit of both. We all remember for one of another term, the speech he gave at halftime of the Rose Bowl 3 years ago, when he just said, go out there and whatever, just play violent, man, get after it. If you're going to do something wrong, do it 100%, but get after it. I think that's what he wants to see out of this. I thought the defense played hard at Oregon. It got bamboozled a few times at Oregon, and then some individuals broke down. Now, when the individual breaks down, the whole defense breaks down. So that's what you're dealing with here. But clearly, Ryan Day was not happy with the defense after that game. Wasn't really happy with the offense because they had the ball with a chance to win that game. Mm-hmm. So everybody has a little bit of a blame in there. But I'm more interested just to see, just raw, in a raw sense, how the defense plays on Saturday against a freshman quarterback and a team that got beat 56-7 last week. Clearly, Indiana gave you a blueprint. Can you follow it?
Well, can you turn Nebraska over that many times is another story.
Well, that's the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. If you turn the ball, if you create turnovers, you're going to win the game. Turning the page here a little bit, I thought it was interesting. Ryan Day talked about how on Tuesday when the Buckeyes hit the practice field, there was still some chatter about Oregon. On Wednesday when they hit the practice field, it was full steam ahead. And I think he was talking about last week.
He was talking about last week. I asked him the question.
Yeah, it was last week. So last Tuesday, if you can think all the way back to last Tuesday, when all of you were still seething with anger, 72 hours after Ohio State 31-32, losers to Oregon.
Seething.
Yeah, they were really angry. I could sense it from the fan base, Tim, on the message board at the Lettermen Lounge. Go get that 50% off right now at lettermenrow.com. Wednesday, they walked out here, and Ryan Day seemed to think that they turned a new leaf, and it was full steam ahead on to the rest of the season. This team still has everything ahead of it. When you hear a message like that, Andy, it's got to be encouraging for this team to be able to put it. I know fans don't want to put it to the side, and that's fine. You guys are fans. You're allowed to do that. But this team seems to be full steam ahead on knowing that every single goal that they have is still in front of them.
Look, these guys know college football. They are younger than a lot of us, but they also know the history of the game. They know how many teams have lost a game at some point in the season and come back to win a national championship. We've talked already this week of how they're honoring the 2014 team, right? And they lost that week 2 game against Virginia Tech. But there's been so many teams that have lost a game at some point, typically, like in the regular season, and you come back and you build off of it, and it's a turning point. Will Howard talked about that on Tuesday, and Emeka Egbuka talked about that today. Taking a negative and turning it into a positive. He was like, if you won that game against Oregon by 3 touchdowns, we probably aren't having the week of practice that we had this week.
Yeah, so, I asked Emeka about that. Bottom line is, it's a whole new game. It's a 12-team playoff field. You're not out of anything yet. But of course, they want that, as Cody Simon pointed out, they still want that bye. That bye in the first round. Bye, this was an off week. We're talking about a bye in a tournament. They still want that bye, which means the only way you get that bye is to win the Big Ten championship.
Correct.
They understand that everything is still in front of them if they take care of their business. Because also on the schedule is unbeaten. Did I just say that again? Indiana. Right on down the line, and of course unbeaten Penn State is still ahead of them on their own schedule. They can take care of their own business and get to Indianapolis with a chance to avenge, is that the right term? Maybe flip the script on Oregon. But yes, these guys know what's up. They know the tale of the tape. They know that there's only, in the Big Ten there are 2 unbeatens left, Penn State and Indiana, and Oregon, 3 unbeatens. They understand that that's not going to be the case at the end of the regular season. They know everything's in front of them, and they're going to play. They say they're going to play like it.
Just look
I don't know if they are or not. We'll see.
Just look at Georgia, who went on the road and lost a one-possession game to Alabama, and everybody thought the sky was falling in Athens, Georgia, and everything was going to go wrong for Georgia, and maybe they weren't the team that everyone thought they were. And then 3 weeks later, they went on the road and they beat the you-know-what out of Texas. Does that sound familiar? A team that everybody thought was great, lost a one-possession game on the road, 3 weeks later has to go play another top 5 team on the road and wins a game? I don't know. It sounds a little familiar to me. It can still happen. So I like the messaging from this team right now where they do believe that everything is still in front of them. That's important. I think that carries some weight. That's a big deal, that a team can shed a loss and understand that they still have all of these goals. I like that from this team. I think that's it. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I do have one thing, because Denzel Burke, we talked a lot the last couple of weeks about worst game of his career at Oregon, did not play well. I was asking a few of the guys today about him and how he's responded. Apparently they lay down a brick every day after practice. They're trying to build something here. Maybe a little cliche, but that's what they do. And Denzel Burke was the one to do that today. And so they've been recognizing the way he's bounced back so far. They're all really confident in his ability. They have faith in him to bounce back. And I think it's going to be a test to see how he responds. And we talked to him. He's the most confident guy we get to talk to here in this building. And that includes the coaches, I would say. He says it what it is, and I'm sure he would say pretty honestly how he played in Eugene. But it's going to be a cool thing to watch to see how he bounces back, if he does, and see what the rest of the season looks like for him.
Well, I asked for him to be brought out for interviews, but it didn't happen. But you know how he talks. He speaks the truth. Denzel does.
To a fault sometimes.
Number two, fellas, I know this is his senior year, not his freshman year or sophomore year. I have not seen any cornerback come through Ohio State in the years I've been covering this, 4 decades, who didn't have that game, who didn't have a game like that game in some form or fashion. And sometimes you just get started off on the wrong foot and you stay on that wrong foot. And just like somebody trying to march in a marching band, he's off cadence. That happened to him. That's behind him. He learned a lot of things. A very good receiver. He was covering a lot of that game. And that Evan Stewart guy, and then right on down, Tez Johnson is no slacker either. So I expect him to bounce back big time. And maybe when we get to bold predictions later in the week, I'll show you how much.
If you've gotten to this late in the week and you still don't have tickets for the Ohio State-Nebraska game, go to gametime.co and use the Game Time app. That is the place to find your tickets. The Game Time Picks feature, you can customize the way that you see tickets. There's some really cheap tickets right now for Ohio State-Nebraska, of course, relative to normal prices to get into the Horseshoe with the 100,000 that'll be partying, we believe, in the Horseshoe on Saturday. Tim's going to be there and Andy's going to be there. I'll be there as well. You might as well join us and get $20 off while you do it. Go to gametime.co, Game Time app, use the code ON3, that's ON3, get $20 off your first purchase in the Game Time app. Don't miss out on that sale. Come watch the Buckeyes and have a good time watching the Bucks and the Skurs take action on Saturday. It's a thing my friends and I call them the Skurs. It's fine. Okay. Tim May.
I'm not supposed to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Tim doesn't need tickets. He's going to be there. He's been to every game, I think except for 1 or 2, in 41 years, because he's the 41-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the latest practice report. We still calling it that thing? Yeah, sure. The latest practice report from yours truly. Go to lettermenrow.com right now. Get that full coverage for 50% off. Great deal. You can't beat it. Like the video below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you back here on YouTube on Friday for bold predictions, and then we'll see you over in the Horseshoe on Saturday for Ohio State and Nebraska.